Hi there, it's Dr. Elena Maganto here, and welcome to the Q&A series, weekly series, where I'm gonna be answering your questions about health and wellness, bringing all the content that I can to you. So today I'm gonna be answering a couple of questions that I got in my private Facebook group, the Keto Diet Solution, that you can join so I can answer all your questions. How does one go about calculating their macros? How low should carbs be set at in order to achieve ketosis? And this is a very good question because a lot of people they love calculating macros, the vegetables, the protein, the fat, to identify what is good for their body in order to achieve ketosis, which means that our body learns how to burn fat as a fuel instead of sugar. So there are a lot of websites out there where you can identify which are your macros, but let me tell you which are my thoughts about that. Every person's body is different. So you are gonna go and then set up your macros based on how much how many pounds you wanna lose, which is your current weight, and then which is your height. It depends on every person's body because some people has a bigger skeleton than others. The body mass index is also different. Also, a person may be going through inflammation, hormonal imbalances that are also affecting their weight. So what is very important is to see it in a different form. I'm totally against of calorie counting proportions, making things too complicated, and we get frustrated and then we give up. We don't continue because it becomes really difficult if you have to wait or you have to count every single macro that you are gonna put on your plate. So these are the most important things that I consider that you should consider when we are trying to reach ketosis. So it's true that you want to control portions, but you want to control portions because when we overeat, we are putting too many carbohydrates, we give constant spikes of insulin, we can end up with insulin resistance, with putting more glucose than we need in the body because only 20% of the glucose gets transformed into energy. The rest is transformed into triglycerides and cholesterol and fat and gets accumulated in your adipose tissue. So it's why I think it's important to control proportions because you don't want to overeat, because when we overeat, gets fermented in our gut. I usually say that we should follow the 80-20 rule. Let's eat until 80% of the stomach is full and 20% empty. So of course it's impossible to measure that, but it means you don't want to leave the table feeling full. You want to feel normal, because if you feel full, you eat 100%. Your stomach is 100% full, so you don't have enough space to release the enzymes and the acids to do the digestion. So you want to control portions to eat 80-20, because if you eat to 100 capacity and you cannot digest the food, what is going to happen is that the yeast and the bacteria in your gut is going to ferment it, and fermentation is translated into sugar, is translated into toxins that go to your liver toxicity and more inflammation. So maybe it's gonna be more difficult to reach your goal. So that is the only reason that I think considering proportions and portions is important. Then based on our macros, let's talk about protein first. Based on protein, you don't wanna overdo it with protein, because protein turns into sugar. That's metabolism. If we eat too much protein, it's gonna turn into sugar. And also, different digestive tracts are designed to digest different type of proteins differently. Like O types are more prone for animal protein. A types are more prone for plant-based protein. So sometimes when you put too much protein and then you cannot digest it properly, again, it's gonna get fermented, it's gonna cause toxin buildup, and it's gonna cause inflammation. So what I do recommend how much protein you can eat is the size of your fist or your palm. That is the amount of protein that our digestive tract can digest per meal. And if you try to make it simple, just one type of protein per meal, your digestions are gonna be easier, so you are gonna be able to absorb all the nutrients. So protein, go for this much, because sometimes when we overdo it, we cause inflammation if we don't digest it, and it turns into sugar if it's too much. And an example is nuts. Nuts are really rich in good fatty acids and also protein, but also nuts have carbohydrates. So when a person gets the bag of nuts and start snacking on it, at the end you can get out of ketosis because nuts also have carbohydrates. So ideally no more than a handful of nuts. I will say 10 to 15. Actually, you do suffer from severe gastrointestinal inflammation, probably you cannot put nuts in your diet. So that is based on protein. So let's talk also about vegetables. So vegetables is one of the most important macronutrients that you do want to see in your plate. And I know when we think about vegetables, when we are on a low carb diet, that is the source of carbohydrates. So we are scared of seeing a lot of vegetables because it seems that we are putting too many carbohydrates. Usually when we go on a conventional ketogenic diagram plate, we see 6% of your plate has to be carbs. So if that is your protein, if that is your vegetable, it seems that you are barely putting vegetables. So then instead of focusing on that, I want you to think about your plate. 50 to 70% vegetables. 50 to 60, 50 to 70% vegetables. And probably you say, oh my God, if I put all those many vegetables, I'm gonna get out of ketosis because I'm gonna put too many carbohydrates. But it's why quality is what is important and what you put in there. So if you focus on vegetables that are low starchy vegetables, you eliminate completely the high starchy vegetables from your diet, like pumpkin, squash, beets are really high in sugar as well, taro, corn, potatoes, all those high starchy vegetables, and you just focus on the low starchy vegetables. It is very simple to put a lot of vegetables on your plate and then still reach ketosis, even if it looks like a lot of vegetables, because the amount of carbohydrates is low. And so that is why 50 to 60% works. And as I said, every person's body is different, right? So I met people that whenever they tested ketones in their blood, after, let's say that they are in fasting conditions and then they decide to drink a glass of celery juice. Whenever they tested their ketones in blood, some people after drinking the celery juice didn't break the fast, didn't raise insulin levels and glucose levels in blood at all. Other people were more sensitive to the celery juice and then they broke the fast, and that raised the glucose and the insulin levels. So it's why our body reacts differently to carbohydrates. So ideally, in order for you to know if you focus on 50% vegetables or 70% vegetables and you are still in ketosis, ideally you want to measure your ketones and in blood by picking your finger, or you can do it in urine, even if it's a little bit less accurate, but you can also do it as well. I personally do like these pH strips from Dr. Anna Cabeca, where you can see that you have like here, like 3 bands. The one in the middle is nothing, it's just to separate the other ones, and then you have one that is ketones and one that is pH. So with this, you can test it in your urine and then you can identify if you are in ketosis. Now, very, very important to know how you read the strips, because a lot of people think that as soon as you have in your strips really, really high ketones, like for example, this color in here, they think they are in ketosis. But actually, if your ketones are really, really high in urine, that may be that you are putting a lot of ketones from dietary sources, but still your body is not using them as a fuel, so you release them in the urine. So very high in ketones doesn't mean that you are in ketosis, it's the opposite. So at the beginning, when you are doing the transition, you will be high, but then with the time you are gonna see that you are gonna start decreasing. So ideally you wanna be in a color kind of like this. And then the other reason why I do love these pH strips is because the other band is pH, actually, not just ketones, is pH. And this is why you wanna really focus your plate on vegetables the most, because the low carb vegetables and in general vegetables are alkalizing your body. When we see the alkaline acid table, we can see that there are foods that alkalize the body, there are foods that acidify the body. Vegetables alkalize the body. Protein, no matter if it's plant-based protein or animal protein, and carbs, like grains, acidify the body. So if we just focus our plate on protein, then we are gonna constantly acidify the body. An acidic environment is really prone for yeast overgrowth, like candida overgrowth, for bacteria dysbiosis, for toxin buildup, fermentation, inflammation, really prone for causing a lot of liver toxicity and increase of diseases like diabetes. So it's why we always wanna have a pH that tends to alkaline, which is around 7.3, between 7 to 7.5. So if you don't put almost vegetables on your plate, you barely gonna reach alkalinity. So it is why the macronutrient you wanna focus the most is vegetables on your plate. And if you wanna reach ketosis, you wanna stick to the low carb vegetables and no grains. And then a way to see how your body is reacting to a certain amount of vegetables is measuring your ketones and your pH at the same time. So you want to be in the right pH between 7 to 7.5 and having a moderate amount of ketones in urines, because that means you are using them. So that is the way you want to see your plate. And of course, we never want to forget about fat. Fat, always to reach ketosis, is also one of the most important macronutrients to put on your plate. The amount of fat that you want to put depends if you want to lose weight or you want to maintain weight. So if you want to maintain weight and you want to have endurance and energy, you want to put more dietary fat. And if you want to lose weight, you still want to have some dietary fat, but you want to put less because you want to use your body fat. And then fats that you want to put is the one from avocado is my favorite, coconut milk, the oils that you use cooking like MCT oil, ghee, coconut oil. I always would go more from dairy free, so you prevent inflammation. So if any fat that comes from the food, like for example fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, is omega-3, so it's anti-inflammatory and it's giving you a big fuel. Also eggs, if you can eat them. Nuts and seeds are really rich in omega-3 fatty acids as well. So always trying to focus on your plate like that. And actually on my book, a Keto Diet Solution that I have right here, you can see what I just said. This is the amount of protein that ideally you want to eat per meal, and this is how you want to see your plate. 50 to 60%, 70 vegetables, low carb vegetables, moderate protein, and then your fat. This is if you wanna lose weight. This is if you wanna maintain weight. Okay, so as I said, I hope I answered your question. Macros, counting macros can make us crazy, so it's all about having a really good pH with your vegetables, focus on the low carb vegetables, and then you may be able to add more or less depending on your body type. So trying to test in the urine your ketones and your pH is really helpful. And remember, moderate protein or it's gonna turn into sugar and cause acidity.